Hey guys, welcome to Griffin Group in Maxton, North Carolina. This is where we're going to do our vehicle dynamics course here coming up, and we're going to do a 2-day long-range shooting course here very soon, and hopefully it will be an ongoing thing. Griffin Group is very well known in the military community because it trains a lot of military, a lot of law enforcement, federal, state, local police. They do driving, they do shooting, they do off-road driving, they do a lot of different stuff. It's now called Raven Advisory Group, so they're kind of in the middle of a name change, but they've let us come out here and bring a vehicle dynamics course to you guys. So David right here, hey David, how you doing, brother? David is one of the primary instructors out here, and he's taught for us before in some of the classes that we've done with the defensive driving type stuff. So David, if you wouldn't mind, just talk us through what the students are going to get to do in the afternoon of the vehicle dynamics course here on the track.
Yeah, we're great. Well, welcome again, you guys. It's always great to see you guys and good to work with you. So yeah, what the students will do is they'll come in and basically get a very short classroom portion of just basic vehicle dynamics. Because everyone drives, to include our clients, they drive, but a lot of times it's looked at as a menial task, and it's oftentimes overlooked that we're needing to be mobile and we need to get from one location to another safely as possible, especially with considering some of the missions that our clients are doing. But even our day-to-day drivers, I mean, it's the number one cause of death is vehicle accidents, and that's DOD, that's law enforcement, and that's in the civilian world. So what we're doing is just very fundamental, basic understanding of driving, certainly more than what you would have gotten in driver's ed. And then we come out to the track and we put it in practice with a series of cones. We use the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's Cumulative Acquisition Skills course, which is a lot of words for. It's a police course. We do it a lot in law enforcement. I did this very course in 1993. It's very effective, and it's got a series of about between 300 and 400 cones, depending on how we set it up. And it addresses everything from steering to acceleration to deceleration to braking to quick Y-outs and that sort of thing. So there's lots that we do here with our students and our law enforcement.
Yeah, so if you're in the military and you haven't taken a course like this, it doesn't matter if you're on a PSD team or whatever, you're going to be driving in foreign countries, and being able to get out of a dangerous situation quickly is extremely important, and it's becoming more important in this country. Road rage is out of control here. So I remember doing this course in Florida in 2005 when I was in third group, and I remember this course of driving, and it looks quite easy, but the timeline's very strict. You got to be gunning it to get that thing done, right?
Yeah. This course is doable in under a minute. And if you look at it, we tell the students, hey, this is ominous. It's a 300 plus cones. But this is doable, and just don't try to overthink it. And just, if you use good techniques, it's not about speed, it's about the technique. And so that applies directly towards, or you were speaking about the military clients. A lot of times they're driving in environments they don't want to stand out. They don't want to spin tires, but they'll find that the less they spin tires on the track, the faster their time is. And once we start getting their minds wrapped around the fact that it's about technique, not just brute speed, they usually understand that it's more easily done when they try to figure it out. Technique over just.
So what's the biggest mistake people make?
Inattentiveness. I would say that civilians, law enforcement, certainly it's over 85% of attacks come in a mobile environment. That's for law enforcement, that's for military, and now unfortunately for civilians. We just see it on the news every day. So I think inattentiveness and just adrenaline. They're just a lot of times people don't get a chance to train under adrenaline. And even like you said earlier, the timeline sometimes is enough adrenaline. If I tell a student, and I don't typically tell them at first, but once I tell them, you have a minute to do this without hitting a cone. Their own adrenaline starts pumping, and it forces them to make mistakes. Well,
peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Even they want to beat the student beside them, or they want to outperform someone beside them. So even the pressure they put on themselves is enough. But can you imagine if they're being shot at? Or if somebody's beating on the side of their glass?
Chasing them.
It's just we just want to work on those fundamentals and get them plenty of reps. That God forbid that ever happens to them. It won't be the first time that they're in that situation, and adrenaline's not going to just put them from the color codes. It won't put them into black where they just stop.
Yeah, it's like a rehearsal, right? You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training.
Absolutely.
And that's across the board. Yeah. So after they do this driving piece and they all get it done, what's the next piece we do?
So after we do the driving piece on the level 1, we call it, we will move down to level 2 where it gets a little bit more kinetic. They'll drive cones, but then there'll be block line of sights where they'll do convoy type driving, or they'll communication, where communication in the vehicles and with each other is more crucial. We'll do distracted drivers, which is directly applicable to civilians because we're texting. We're all on our phones, and if I, if I told you if I wasn't guilty of that myself, I'd be lying. So it's just the world we live in. But it gives the student a chance to see that just how directly that fraction of a second when I take my eyes off the road and look at the phone, or and I think it's something safe, I look up and I'm running off the road. So we do that down on level 2, and then we'll do some other things like the off-road recovery, which is the #1 cause of single car fatalities. If someone running off the road, and because I never certainly did that in driver's ed, the first time I was exposed to it was in this type of training. Once I understood that, just get out of the car's way, let the car do what it's designed to do, and don't do too much. Once I sort of understand that, it's going to go a lot smoother for me. So just the chance of doing reps like that in sort of in a safe way, that we're going to control it, we're going to make sure the students don't get hurt, but we also need to expose them to what the car is actually going to do when it goes off the road. And if you're very much in control of it, and we just show them the techniques to more safely negotiate something like that instead of flipping the car over, or God forbid, what would be the point if I got back on the road but I went across into the oncoming traffic. So just fundamental stuff like that we do. Once we see that the student has a firm grasp of the fundamentals, then we'll progress on to like level 2, we call it.
Okay, and that's probably overcorrection. Is the biggest mistake.
Overcompensation, because it's like a pendulum effect. What I'm trying to do is mitigate how much that back end is going out from under me. And if I overcompensate, obviously that energy's got to go somewhere. Typically it spins the vehicle out of control. And some students get it right away, and some students takes them 4 or 5 times. If students have driven on ice and snow, they tend to have a leg up. But if they've, like me, I grew up in the South, I didn't drive in a lot of ice and snow. It was a learning curve for me.
So it's just understanding that the mechanics of the vehicle and where the weight is and weight distribution, right?
And it gives the students a chance to actually feel what that feels like beyond driver's ed.
Talk to me about the J-turn, which is like the backing up at high speed and then spinning the car around. It's in every action movie I've ever made.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it. In fact, I saw it in a movie the other day. So the J-turn is just a technique, and I'm sure there's different verbiage for it for different people that teach it, but typically the way I would teach it, let's say the most applicable is like if you're pulling up and you see an immediate threat in front of you. And the best thing to do, obviously, is just put the vehicle in reverse and get away from that person, because mobility is survivability. Military people, we hear that all the time. Our law enforcement military, survivability is mobility. So obviously what I want to do is get away from that situation. So what we do is just put the vehicle in reverse out of it. The way I used to teach it was I'd tell the students, throw the steering wheel out the window. So what I'm doing is inputting as much steering as I can. The vehicle turns, and as it's turning 180 degrees, ideally in the same lane that I started in, put it back in drive and continue to go. It's a pretty dynamic.
Hand over the back.
Yeah, hand over the back.
Looking through the back window.
Absolutely. I'll put it in reverse. As I'm spinning around, I'll throw it back in drive when I'm in the desired path, and I'll get away from it.
What's the problem with that technique that you've seen in your career?
Yeah.
You're in law enforcement for
I think the problem with that technique is it depends on what kind of vehicle I'm driving. If I'm driving a vehicle like this truck that we're standing beside, probably wouldn't be ideal for that because it's pretty top heavy. Police cars, like the vehicles that the PSD teams are typically driving, are more conducive to a J-turn. But for a lot of our students, they're not going to be on great roads. They're going to be on who knows what kind of roads they're going to be driving on, the surfaces, if the vehicle's up armored. J-turn's typically suboptimal for those folks because the negatives far outweigh the positive. If I do it wrong, which is, I think, an advanced technique, and back to what we said earlier, under stress, if I do it wrong, the negatives far outweigh the positive. I'm going to wreck the vehicle, I'm going to put it on its roof, and then whatever I was trying to get away from is now a bigger problem. It's a great technique. I think it's one that if you do it effectively, if everything's optimal to do it, the conditions, the type of vehicle I'm in, it's a great technique if I've practiced it. But in my mind, it's one of those that you need to practice it because, like we said again, and we will always go back to, under adrenaline, can you do it? Easily repeatable. If not, I probably just toss it.
Preserve the asset, right? You need to preserve your vehicle. So what if somebody is in a road rage situation and somebody's trying to push them off the road, like a pit maneuver, but trying to ram them off the road.
Yeah, we do. We teach that here.
And we're going to teach that on the vehicle dynamics course.
Yeah, we'll teach that. We call it counter force off. So we'll teach the students here both the pit maneuver and how to mitigate the pit maneuver, how to beat the pit maneuver. So there's a lot that goes into that. But I think the most valuable thing is learning how to, like, for a lot of times, who knows if the person's actually that's attacking someone actually knows how to do the pit maneuver, but they can mistakenly do the pit maneuver.
Right.
All they have to do is push the car beyond that 45 degrees. So once I do that, there's not a lot I can do. So what we teach the student is just drive where you want focus on where you want the car to go and steer towards that. It's like what we talked about earlier, overcompensating in the off-road recovery. Don't do too much. I'll typically ask the question, if somebody got into you 20 degrees, how much would you counter? The most common answer is 40. I'm like, no, it's just 20, because don't overthink it. What you're doing is you're literally overcompensating in your brain right now, which is going to translate to steering.
If he pulls back, you're overcompensating.
Absolutely.
You're spin out.
Absolutely. If I push you 20, all you're doing is replacing something I put in. It's 20. Because and the easiest way to think of it is just drive where you want the vehicle to go. Steer towards that at all times, which is the harder part of the two things that we teach. A lot of times students think it's pitting. Pitting's very easy. I think the counter force off is harder, and I think it's more applicable to certainly a civilian. And even law enforcement and military, maybe more so military than law enforcement. Law enforcement is typically doing it from the other vehicle. But the military folks, it is something they might encounter, that someone's trying to chase them down overseas, and they're probably driving smaller vehicles and rentals, and obviously the idea is to get away from them. And if they push you and the vehicle stalls, and so what we teach is how to keep the vehicle, ideally from spinning at all, but if it does, how not to stall the vehicle. Because again, back to what we said earlier, under stress, will I remember to start the vehicle back up? There's been case study upon case study of vehicle stalling, and they just thought the vehicle was down. And in actuality, all it was either stalled or cut off somehow, and they just didn't take that tactical pause, we call it, to start the vehicle back up and drive. I know that we've talked about case studies before where that's evident. So we just show them not to stall the vehicle at all and to stay mobile and get away from that problem.
We spend so much time in our vehicles. It's just smart to understand how to get out of trouble as quickly as you got into it, and it's all defensive stuff, and it's all teaching you how to deal with that worst case scenario, somebody trying to run you off the road, and better manage your vehicle. And it's rare that you get to do this, so there'll be some classroom stuff, there'll be some law, use of force, castle doctrine stuff, there'll be some scenarios outside the vehicle, and then there'll be quite a bit of driving here. So
a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. Let's go drive a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, here we go. Foot with the brake. Sometimes the gear doesn't want to cooperate, but it is what it is. You got to fight through it. Continue to stay mobile, getting out of that problem as quickly as possible, continuing to get away from the threat. Potentially other cars parked. I got to get around people. Turn around the other direction. Again, with the intent to not hit cones which simulate people or other vehicles. Back into the serpentine. Threshold braking, working the brake with my left foot, just more efficient, come to a complete stop, and that is a run.
Nice.
All right.
So, David, let's say I get in a road rage situation and somebody pulls off the exit ramp and blocks me. So this is my vehicle, and this is the blocking vehicle right now. If I want to get that vehicle out of the way without destroying my own vehicle, how do I best? If there's no way to go around it, obviously that's always your primary, is to avoid it. But if I have to hit it, where do I hit?
Yeah, and we'll show you, but I think we want to make sure the students know they still have options, right? If somebody pulls you in, it doesn't mean that necessarily you don't still have options. So you see the big bumper on our car here, that it's not, you don't have to have that big bumper. Just here, because we do it so much at Griffin Group, just for the reps, that we don't have to keep jumping in and out of cars, we have the bumper on it. But it's really about the technique. And what we'll do is typically teach the students that obviously this vehicle right here, The engine's in the front. So if I want to effectively, if I can get this vehicle just to move just enough to give me an out, I'm just going to push it long enough to give me an out. And what I'll do is typically go for the weakest part of the vehicle, which is the trunk. And what I'll do is I'll have the student pull up. We get them into what we call the target area, our sweet spot target area, make contact with the vehicle, and we don't have to do it as an open road ram. We can literally pull up to the vehicle, touch it, gas it. We'll tell the student, drive into the vehicle. All you're trying to do is create just enough of a gap that where I can drive away from it. Now, you're going to get some cosmetic damage to the side of your car, but can I live with that? Absolutely. What I'm trying not to damage is the things that make the car go. I can live without a side view mirror. So we're just trying to show the students that you still have outs. If you think you're blocked in, do not give up and keep continuing to try to drive out of that problem until it becomes a problem where you can't drive out of it. But obviously, we always want to get mobile, get away from the problem. And this is just an option to do that for them.
Yeah, the analogy that was, I think I heard in Griffin Group, breaking in 2005, was if you take an arms room door, big heavy door, and you lift it off the hinges, it's almost impossible to move.
Yeah.
But while it's sitting on that hinge, and the hinge would be the engine,
right.
the heavy part, you can swing that thing open with your finger, right? Because it just pivots.
Yeah, it's about physics, not brute force. Once we get the student to understand the finesse of it rather than the brute force, they tear up less things, they get less injury, and they're probably going to be more successful on the other end of this.
Yeah, so you don't have to hit this thing at 60 miles an hour.
No. In fact, you're going to definitely break your wrist and probably other things, and worse yet, stop the vehicle, and then you're down on what the proverbial X.
Are you going to do this?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.